welcome back to Dom's Corner, everybody. How's it going? I am your host, of course, Dom Martino, and sitting to the bottom of me there is Mr. Adam Leach. Adam, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. Very well, man. Thank you for being here. And to my left is Miss Samee Ramirez. Samee, how you doing?
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Cool.
Excited to talk some Chamber of Secrets.
Me too. We're going to continue the Harry Potter discussions today. Of course, we're going to be talking Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, so should be a lot of fun, should be exciting. Adam's cat is going to join us too today.
Is that Professor McGonagall? Professor McGonagall, what a pleasure.
Yeah. That must be it. Yeah, hey guys, if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, and share this with your friends. That would be much, much appreciated. But we're just going to dive right into this review, and very excited to do that today. So Adam, we always start with you for some reason, but whatever. Hey, so the first time you saw Chamber of Secrets, do you remember this? Did you have experience with it?
For some reason, of the first two movies, I always remember this one a lot better than the first one. I've probably seen it more. But yeah, I don't particularly remember the first time I watched it. It probably wasn't long after I watched the first one, honestly. But yeah, I mean, my consensus on it is that I obviously still love it. It's probably one of my... I feel if there's any problematic movies in the series, I think it's probably the most problematic. Not that it's a bad movie. It just probably has the most weird inconsistencies or whatever.
Okay. And Samee, the first time you saw Chamber of Secrets and overall thoughts rewatching it?
Yeah, so it's the same story as the first time I saw Sorcerer's Stone. I just remember them playing back to back on TV every Halloween when I was a kid. They'd always play them back to back, so I saw them like immediately right after each other. But again, they both added to after I saw them for the first time. I was just completely enthralled and in love with the story. And again, I was saying, I was telling Dom that I, upon this rewatch, have found a great new love for this movie. I would normally put this towards the bottom of my list, but rewatching it, I found this to be so much fun and actually one of my favorites.
All right. And so when I saw this movie for the first time, it was me and my buddy, I remember, and our parents somehow got together, decided they were going to get us like advanced tickets, like the earliest screenings you can go to for this thing. And we all like took like this trip, and I remember we had a big Dodge Durango when we were younger, me, my buddy and his parents and my parents, and most of my family, actually. We all crammed into this Durango, had this whole trip. We got like, we had like Bertie Bott's every flavor beans and everything like that. We went to like the theater. I remember, I hadn't been to a theater this nice as a kid. I just remember thinking, this is like a bomb-ass theater. It had like the reclining seats and everything. So we like really made an event out of it when I was a kid. And like ever since I saw it that way, it was one of my favorites, like, that whole time. Now, got some hot takes here. And bear with me. I'm going to start with some negatives. I'll bring it forward into some positives. Overall thoughts after rewatching it today. When I watched it today, there was a lot that I noticed that was, as kind of like Adam was saying, a little more problematic, I felt like. My thinking on this is that this movie, I feel like, is doing like a lot more than the first one was doing, and maybe a little bit too ambitious for like Christopher Columbus's sensibilities. So for me, it was like, it kind of feels like he wasn't meant for this project on some levels, but like, because like the pacing of it is so strange to me. Like it's like really bumpy starting out, I feel like, and it's really like very rushed. And then, like, I feel like there was definitely some editing problems throughout, like, when we transition from, like, scene to scene. Like, sometimes there's, like, things that I wish were trimmed down, and then things that I wish, had things added to it. It's not the runtime necessarily, it's just the way that the runtime was utilized more than anything else. And, I mean, Still, for me, the child acting isn't as great. It's better than the first one though. I will say that, like, they definitely feel like more comfortable. Like, you could tell these kids have now they've been on a movie set. They kind of know the program a little bit more. There's a couple spots where they deliver some really good acting, but like for the most part, it's still rough throughout it, I think. And I just thought this project might have been a little too ambitious for Christopher Columbus. That said, if I'm able to step back and look at this movie objectively and like look at it as like for the experience, for Harry Potter fans, it plays really well on that level, because to me it's like watching like one of these big like popcorn type blockbuster movies. You know what I mean? It's entertaining as hell. The fast pace in some areas, like it's very fast paced and almost a little too quickly paced in some areas, but that almost adds to that sort of like blockbuster shove popcorn in your face type of experience, to where it's like it's a better experience than it is a film. You know what I mean? And I had so much fun with it. And the ending of it, by the way, if we're going to take the third act of this movie alone, it's better than the third act of The Sorcerer's Stone. As far as the films go, if you're to ask me today which one I like better, I never thought I'd say this, but I would say put on The Sorcerer's Stone over this one. I just think it's a better overall film, but it's just that this movie, it's so entertaining at the same time. You know what I mean? There are so many like incredible, like high, the scale of it's bigger, it's just everything is just it's a higher budget for sure, you can tell, and you could feel that. And it's so I think Christopher Columbus probably realized that this is something that was like maybe a little bit more ambitious than his sensibilities typically cater to. And so I think what he wanted to do was to just make something that was an all-out like Potterhead experience, a great experience for Potterheads in terms of like just how fun it would be. And he was like, yeah, I'll try to cram as much as I can from the book in there too. Along the way, we'll have some really cool story points. And if you look at it as an experience over a film, it plays much better that way, as opposed to like Sorcerer's Stone. I feel like plays much better as a film, and an experience. You know what I mean? It just, there's so much going on in this movie. I felt like that it weakens it a little bit from the first one, because I don't know that Chris Columbus was able to figure out how he's gonna put all the pieces in there. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of where my head's at on it.
I feel like this one and the first movie, I look at kind of two completely different ways, almost for opposite things. Like I want to put the first one above this one, because I just feel like it's just cohesive, and I don't feel, when I'm watching it, I don't feel like I really have many issues with it.
Right.
And the end is a little short for the first one. I wish the end were a little more exciting during the first one, if I had to say anything about it. But I can say the opposite about this one, in that the movie itself as a whole, it does feel more exciting. It feels more drawn out. It feels like there's a lot more story. The story that you're getting a lot of new information. When I was watching it, I was kind of amazed. I was like, wow, we are getting like a lot of key information about this series, like really early, that we're going to need to remember for later. And I forget just how much information they throw at you within the first two movies, specifically this one. But so I like how the plot builds and it thickens throughout the movie. The ending is longer. It does feel a little more grand. But the ending is probably what I have the most issues with, just because I don't remember how the book translates. It's been a long time, so I honestly don't remember. But I feel like it might, just like you said, it might just be like such a big thing to fit into a movie, that to me, like, even though the end was more drawn out, it was like there were just so many things that happened. It almost felt like there were certain things that at times just felt like plot convenience. Whereas when you're reading stuff in a book and you have more time to digest things, and there's more time for things to build and stuff. But in a movie, you know, it's like good things just keep happening one
Right.
after another,
Right.
like one after another, like
That's how I was feeling.
There's the classic like villain explaining their entire story right before they're trying to kill the hero, and it's like, well, I've seen that a million times before. And then
Right.
like the Phoenix comes out of nowhere and saves the day like 3 times, and it's like, wow, that keeps happening. That's
Yeah.
very convenient. And so there are certain things like that I feel might have probably translated better in book form.
Definitely.
Because in the movie I don't remember feeling quite as strongly that way before, but this time when I was watching it, I was like, this just feels really convenient. Like
Right.
it doesn't feel as realistic or organic, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, overall, still wonderful movie. I can't say too many bad
Sure,
things
I
about
really
it.
like the movie. I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I still really like this movie like a lot. It's so much fun to watch. You know, there's more expansion to the world. It's planting all the seeds, as Adam was saying, for things that we need to happen later. And so like I still really like the movie. Like it's a lot of crammed in information for sure, but it needs to be there. And that's what I'm saying. I think that there was probably a way for this to maybe be adapted more smoothly into the film, but like again, we have a director who I don't think has ever taken on anything as ambitious as this. You know, the first book within its context is very simple. You know what I mean? So the first movie was really, it worked for his sensibilities in that way. I feel like, and as to where like the Chamber of Secrets is like the first book where I feel like where we're really starting to get a lot of information, and I'm not sure
it's a little more complicated.
Exactly. I'm just not sure that worked to Chris Columbus's sensibilities as well as the first movie did. And so like it's crazy to me because I swore that this movie was one of my favorites of the series. And then now that I've rewatched it, I realize, oh wow, it's actually weaker than Sorcerer's Stone, which is one of the, in my opinion, weaker ones in the series, or has been in the past. But we'll see how things play out. I mean, just so my opinions honestly changed on this drastically, and unfortunately not for the better. But it's still fine. Like I still really like this movie. I think it's still a really good movie. I'll never forget the experience I had seeing it for the first time, and I can still watch it and be entertained as hell. So. Yeah,
I mean, as a whole, all the movies are just so amazing as a whole. Like, even if there are moments every now and then, it's just like, all of them are so cohesive. And you know, like I said before, the first 2 are always the ones that when I think about my least favorite Harry Potter movies, for whatever reason, the first 2 are always the ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to my sister yesterday on the phone, or a couple days ago, and I was like, I'm watching Harry Potter again, and she got really excited because she loves Harry Potter, and they just watched it a couple months ago, or we watched it, and she kind of said the same thing before I even said it. She was like, yeah, I always have trouble getting through the first 2 movies. And I'm like, you know, I feel the same way. Like, that's funny for some reason. So I'm actually excited to get into the rest of the series because I can't think of many things that I find wrong with the rest of the series. I legitimately am in love with 3 onward. I love almost everything about it. So I'm excited to watch them and be a little more nitpicky, because the first 2 have always been the ones that I felt like I could do without. But the rest of these, I'm almost like, I just want to say that they're flawless and be done.
No, I kind of feel that in a way, although Azkaban's always been my least favorite, so we'll see how that goes. But the thing is we'll see how that goes. My opinions are changing. I like the first one better this time around, and the second one not as well this time around, not as much as this time around. So we'll see. It's always changing. I mean, that's the other thing too, is like it works like Star Wars in the way that, like, I feel like this franchise, in the sense that like the legacy of it is always changing. Like my ranking on these it's always going to change. Like I could watch Chamber of Secrets 10 years from now and go back to it being one of my favorites, and who knows? We'll see. But let's dive into this. Samee and I both watched the extended cut of this one, which came in at a whopping, I think, 3 hours and 8 minutes or something like that. So that's,
it was long.
It's a long run time.
How much longer is it than the regular cut?
Probably about
30 minutes, maybe?
No, it's like 10 to 15.
Is it that much longer?
I think it's 10 to 15. I think it's 10 to 15,
okay.
somewhere in that range.
Is it really?
I'm gonna have to-
Chamber of
I'm gonna
Secrets
look it
really
up.
like Damn.
I think the
Let me
original
see.
cut is 2:45, and the extended I think
Oh,
is 3
really?
hours and 8 minutes. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, somewhere in that range.
2 hours and 54 minutes.
The original cut. Okay, so it's really not that much when you kind of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 6 minutes.
Shortest 3 hours of my life.
Right. It doesn't feel like that. That's another thing I wanted to add to, my thing. It's like, it might be like rushed or feel rushed in moments, but that actually makes the runtime go by quicker too at the same time.
Right.
So I can't really like discredit that either, I mean, because it doesn't feel like it's that long by any means. It feels pretty
okay,
quick.
so it looks like that might have been for the extended cut. I don't know. So the extended cut is 174 minutes, and it looks like the original release was 161.
Why did I think it was 3 hours and 8 minutes?
13 minutes longer, which is still a pretty decent amount of time longer. Yeah, that's still that's a long movie. We're pushing up on 3 hours for the regular release. I don't remember it being that long.
For one of the shortest books as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. So, let's get right into this. So, we start out. I by the way, I love the opening theme here. I mean, I think it's the Harry Potter theme with a little bit of a spin on it. Then we heard from the first one. I caught that John Williams. I was like, that's a nice touch. But then I like the shot going down to the Dursleys' house. I think all that looks really beautiful. And then we see Harry looking at the book, which it's like, oh yes, we're watching the sequel. Like it looks, it feels like we're watching the sequel to Sorcerer's Stone. Real great opening. And then we get into some of my problems moving into the Dursley stuff.
Some of my favorite moments.
I disagree. I think that this is where it becomes incredibly problematic. The Dursleys, number one, are not nearly as entertaining in this movie as they were in the last one. And also, the other problem I have here is, I don't know. Dudley's kind of got the same consistent acting that he did in the first one. So
he's still a dick.
Yeah, he's still, yeah. So
I'll still fight him.
Fair enough.
I still feel confident.
Not that the ideas aren't consistent with the first, with the Dursleys. It's just that, yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's just they weren't as entertaining, but I also understand that this movie had a lot to get to. So we're moving past that, and then we get into, and what I don't like is like, okay, he goes down, he sees the Dursleys, he comes back up, and then there's Dobby. I don't like how quickly that all transpired. I found that pacing to be really like, oh man, this is like bumpy. Like we're really just kind of jumping from thing to thing. So then when we see Dobby, and I like the Dobby scene individually because I love Dobby the house elf. I think that the conversation works. It's just I didn't like how we were going from thing to thing so quickly, and then we're moving from that to it all moves really fast. We go into the cake thing, which had a little extended moment where Dudley in the extended cut where Dudley looked up and he said pudding or something like that. Wasn't in the original cut. And then so then the cake drops, and then Uncle Vernon puts locks Harry into his room again, all moving really, really quickly. Next thing you know, Ron comes over with the car, takes Harry away. One of the funnier moments is Uncle Vernon's nice little girly scream as he's coming out of the window there. I did like the humor in this movie a lot more than I did in the first one. That's another thing I'll give. Like, it actually made me laugh here, like a lot. Yeah. And so when Vernon's going out, and then they go off into the car, and they go to the Burrows. I'll start with Adam. What'd you think of all the opening stuff?
Yeah, I actually don't have too many problems with the first part. I always liked that part. Dobby doesn't look as good as I remember him. He does look a little, CG goofy, but yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, I just something stupid that I always think is funny is when they're escaping from Harry's room, and and Uncle Vernon yells, "You and that bloody pigeon aren't going anywhere."
That is pretty good.
I just think
that is a good one.
I thought that's hilarious for some reason.
Yeah, no, that does make me laugh.
Yeah, I remember the cake bit where he's dropping the cake on her head, like so much anxiety every time I watch that. It's like I hate Dobby so much sometimes. Like I really don't like him until later in the series when,
really?
Obviously. Yeah, because early in these movies, I'm always like, why is Dobby always such an ass? Like, he is always being like so annoying and doing so many stupid things. It's like, just go away.
He must protect Harry Potter.
You know what's funny, Adam?
He's not doing a very good job.
He's a house elf. He's just trying to help.
You know what's funny, Adam, is like you said that Dobby's CGI didn't look as good. What's really funny is I remember like when I was going to watch this today, I was like, Dobby never looks good. I always hate looking at that CGI. It always looks dated. And then when I saw it, I was like, actually, it's not as bad as I remember. So it's kind of funny that we're like right at opposite ends of that.
It's weird. Like when I've watched this in the past, really all the movies, I don't ever watch it to review it. I don't watch it to nitpick or anything. So I'm just kind of like, I'm just watching Harry Potter. And so now when I'm watching them to actually review them, I'm paying more attention to stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now it's like when I saw Dobby for the first time, I kind of noticed, I was like, he kind of looks weird.
I know, I felt the same way watching both of these this last time. It's a weird feeling to watch them. Like, it's like, okay, we got to actually go in and review now. It's like...
It's almost like I don't want to watch them that way, because I don't want to find anything wrong
out a little bit, but yeah. We'll have them back for sure. But Samee, what do you think of all the opening stuff?
I absolutely love all of the opening stuff. I remember, I mean, not so much now on this second watch, but or on the this rewatch. But I remember the first time seeing the whole Dobby scene with the pudding and everything, and feeling like it was life or death. Like I was like, oh no, if Harry messes this up, like it is no good. Like I just,
Me too.
Just feeling so much, because you just love Harry so much. You just don't want him to get in trouble, and I think that attributes to why we get so upset with Dobby and find him so annoying sometimes, because you're just getting Harry in trouble. You're trying to help him and you're just hurting him.
Yeah.
But I think, because for me, I guess I look at it more as, and a part of the reason why I love this Chamber of Secrets so much is because I kind of look at all 7, 8 movies as kind of like episodes, I guess, in the Harry Potter series. And so you have the first one, which is all of your introductions, you get all of that settled, and then this one you just start. I just love it because it's the beginnings of everything else that we see later on. And even this, that there are people, even house elves, hearing things that Harry Potter might be in trouble, because we do the greaterness of Voldemort coming back in the background and everything we know with Malfoy. And so I just love it for moments like that. And I love Dobby. I know he's a bit annoying, but I love that little house elf. I always have.
Yeah, I don't know. I get where you're coming from. I'm just like, yeah, it does. But that's the thing. Like, to me, it's almost the problem for me is that it does play like an episode. You know what I mean? Like in the next episode. That's kind of where my problem lies. But like on the same hand, like it's just, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's all very entertaining. It's just the way that they play it. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. But then they go over to the Burrows, which is Ron's house, and I love this house. I think that the design is very cool. The dinner table conversation's actually really funny when the father comes in, he finds out they took the car and he's just like, oh really, how'd it go? I love that cracks me up every time. I think that plays really well. Also, Harry, when they're going to travel to buy flu powder to Diagon Alley, he goes in there and says diagonally. So he's going to go diagonally from Diagon Alley. Always thought that was a really fun play on words. That's both in the book and this movie. I do like these moments because the pacing kind of slows itself. We're like, okay, now we can kind of start getting involved a little bit more. And so, yeah, so I really like that. And then we get to, obviously Harry ends up in Nocturne Alley, and, Hagrid finds him there. There's an extended scene here where Lucius Malfoy and Draco Malfoy both come into the shop that Harry's in, and he has to hide out, and he's watching them, and they're buying something. I can't remember exactly what, which I don't think ever comes into play later on in the movie.
Oh, they're selling.
He's selling,
yeah, because there's because I picked up on this time, because the Ministry of Magic is doing raids on people who may or may not be associated with the dark arts, including the Malfoy family.
Right.
So Lucius is trying to get rid of some stuff he doesn't want being found.
Fair enough. I guess that
That's
does
how
kind of
that's set
come
up.
into play in
Yeah.
that sense, but it's an extended scene, so it's
Yeah.
a scene that they
It
threw
doesn't
back in
come
there.
into play.
It's not
ever.
that important, right? But anyway, so we
Yeah.
move into that, and then we're going into so from Nocturne Alley, Hagrid finds him. Always great to see Hagrid again. Then he meets up with Hermione in Diagon Alley, and then they go to buy these books from Gilderoy Lockhart. By the way, one of my favorite things about this movie is Kenneth Branagh's performance as Gilderoy Lockhart. He is so good in this role, and he's hilarious in this very cartoony type of way. I really like him, and all the women, of course, find him attractive, and we got that going on. That stuff's all really funny.
So bizarre to me.
It is. It's bizarre, but it's funny. I think that's why it plays so well. Is it was almost like one of the more bizarre picks you could have gotten with Kenneth Branagh for that character, but he put his own spin on it, and I really love it. I love his performance as the character for that. And then so we got the thing where you could see it where they run into Lucius Malfoy, and if you pay enough attention, you could definitely see the diary getting slipped into the cauldron here. If you haven't gone back to pick up on that, definitely recommend doing that, which I think is cool that it's there, but it's just so subtle. And then we move into the train, and of course Harry and Ron cannot get through the barrier of platform 9 3/4. Again, it's just everything's just moving so quick. It's another one of my problems though too. You know what I mean? But anyway, Adam, what do you think of all that?
Yeah, I for whatever reason, I don't really have a lot of issues with the beginning of the movie. Maybe it's just because I'm excited to watch it.
Fair enough.
I'm just I'm happy to be here.
I am happy to be here. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just kind of chilling and watching it. But Lockhart as a character is just such a bizarre person.
Yeah.
He's such an imbecile. Like every time I watch this movie, I'm like, that guy is just such an idiot. Like, it's infuriating, honestly. But yeah, the dude playing him does a phenomenal job.
Kenneth Branagh, Sir Kenneth Branagh, the dude playing him. With some respect. Ugh.
He's the dude.
That's our boy, Adam. Murder on the Orient Express. What are you doing?
Yes.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Hamlet,
No.
Much Ado About Nothing.
I didn't.
Henry V. He like tried for a while to do all the Shakespeare adaptations.
I literally couldn't think of anything I've ever seen him in other
Fair
than
enough.
Harry Potter.
He's in Tenet as well, but anyway.
He's in Tenet.
Yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite stupid lines is when they're at Weasley's house, and his dad turns to Harry and says, "Tell me, what exactly is the function of a rubber duck?"
Yes.
Like, of all questions, like that's literally the first question he has.
And I love Harry's just like, well.
Yeah.
Well, it's so excellent. I love that.
It's like I never analyzed the function of a rubber duck before.
Yeah, and then later with the Malfoys, Lucius Malfoy is like such a great character. Like,
yeah,
he plays him so well.
Jason Isaacs, he does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just a phenomenal job portraying that character. The character itself is just you obviously hate him from the start, like, but it's weird because he has this charm. Like, he has a charm about him that makes you think, I feel like I should like him, but at the same time, I definitely shouldn't like him.
He's oddly handsome.
No, he's very handsome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 would tap.
Like, have you ever seen the Peter Pan adaptation that he's in? It's my favorite Peter Pan adaptation.
I was telling Ian about this on one of these
Captain
shows.
Hook he's their dad / Captain Hook.
God, he's so good.
And he's like, again, oddly sexy in that role, and you're like, what? He's literally playing Captain Hook, and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
But it's Jason Isaacs just has.
He's got it going on, don't he? Yeah.
His hair in this movie is so luscious. It's like, so you just want to run your fingers through it. It's perfectly straight and like just like the perfect blonde shade. It's disgusting.
Is it Lucius
Yeah.
or Lucius? I don't know.
It's
Anyway.
Lucius.
Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's
Yeah,
Lucius.
maybe it's Lucius. Yeah, so I like his character, but I hate his character.
Yeah.
Draco is, as insufferable as ever in this movie. I just I hate Draco Malfoy so much. As a character, I understand the purpose of his character and everything, and you're supposed to hate him, and I definitely do hate him. At the same time, it's like everything that comes out of his mouth is just like so enunciated in such an annoying way. It just makes me want to punch him in the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
Like everything that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, why are you saying it like that? Are you even from Earth?
Fair.
Like nobody pronounces
critique.
things that way.
Yeah.
No
fair critique.
Anyway, so yeah, I still like this bit. You get some good characters, you get some good one-liners. So
Yeah. Samee?
Well, first of all, the scenes at the Burrow in the book as well as in the movies are some of my absolute favorites. Like if I
they're
could
good.
live in the wizarding world, like I just want to live at the Burrow and have Molly Weasley take care of me.
Yeah.
And just live in the world. I love the whole set design
Me too.
for the house. It's the perfect level of magical and weird, but also so comforting and homey, and it's very eclectic. It's a reflection, it's an extension of the Weasley family. That's exactly how I would describe them as well. That perfect level. And I also love is it Julie Walters, correct, plays Molly Weasley?
Yeah.
I've always loved her in this
She does a
role.
great job
she
as
is
a role,
hysterical.
in the role. Yeah.
Yeah, her as well as the entire rest of the family. I also love the first moment with Ginny and Harry, where she comes down and sees him and just slowly backs away. I love that moment as well. And then again, Jason Isaacs is just, it's got that thing that is just, you can't take your eyes off of when he's on screen.
Yeah.
And I love the character of Draco Malfoy. It's a fair critique that he's snarky in the bad way, that you're like,
right,
step down, kid. Like, you can stop. Exactly. My father will hear about this. Like, you're like, shut up, Malfoy. But I think that all is part of his character. And like, once I think you step back from it and you're like, he is literally living under a roof with this man who is controlling him and all these things, and you see little bits of how he's like so controlling of Draco and so protective, and how his father's opinions are just so overwhelming that Draco like can't help but mimic that. And I love the little hints of all of that, and I love the way it's acted. I love that whole scene between the Malfoys and the Weasleys, and yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. The Burrow is the main standout of this section. I'm in love with the Burrow.
For sure.
Everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, Draco Malfoy, I can see it from both ends, because Draco's kind of like a nuisance, definitely, but like on the same hand, like...
he's meant to mirror Harry.
Yeah.
And he's Harry's opposite.
He's everything that you
Harry's
don't
not.
want to see in a classmate in school.
Exactly.
He is literally your worst nightmare as a human being.
And
he's your nemesis. Yeah.
I think Tom Felton is one of the better child actors in here too, though. That's the other thing, like, I wanted to point out. Like, I think as Draco, which I know he's one of the few that actually did stuff before this, so like it shows like he's actually experienced in acting, and not like an amazing performance, but he's one of the stronger of the child actors for sure in this movie. So yeah, I don't know. I get why he needs to be there, but he is a nuisance, so I see it from both ends. So for sure. And then we get to the fly. Now they decide to take this flying car, and here is where, to me, like, the movie just becomes this like really exciting, incredible, like, this is the best of the best stuff in the movie. Like, it's awesome. And then so they take the flying car. We get some really awesome action. I mean, Harry flying out of the door, I mean, this stuff's really fun to watch. And then they finally get to Hogwarts. They land into the Whopping Willow, which is like extremely violent. I love the sound design, though, like, for the Whopping Willow. I think that stuff, like, it's really, really great. I mean, but it's just like, it's so like brutal. I mean, Ron's kind of playing in some really good humor too. They kind of played into the fact that they were going through puberty, and their voices would be all cracky like and stuff like that. Yeah, that's something I picked up on too here. And so then obviously they get out of the tree. The car's just completely damaged, drives away. That car is pissed, man. Like, you can tell. It's pissed. So then they start walking up the stairs, and then we see one of my personal favorite characters, Argus Filch. I love that he's so happy that he's caught them out of bed. He's got them coming in late. He is thrilled that these children are doing something wrong. Finally. It just says, oh
Last
dear, we
night,
are in
yeah.
trouble. I love that. It's
Like, this will be the
awesome.
last
It's awesome.
night you're in this castle.
Oh man. Then we get to Snape, and then Snape is upset, and then I love when Dumbledore walks in here too. It's like, oh god, Richard Harris, his presence on screen, man. I'm telling you, I miss him as Dumbledore. He really did a phenomenal job as the character. Yeah, when his presence and him and McGonagall, you get this feeling in you like, oh gosh, so happy to see them for sure. And then in the extended cut, we see the quick spell thing. Filch falls out of his pocket. That was from the book, and then what didn't make the original cut. So that was really, really cool.
I had to rewind and see what the paper was.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, because I'd never seen that scene before.
Could you give like a?
So, but
do you remember
yeah.
what quick spell is exactly? If you do, could you give like a fast description maybe of it, like a brief summary? Because I don't remember what that was.
I don't know for sure. I do know that my assumption based off it was just based off of what I know is that it's probably for like because Filch is a squib,
right?
Which a squib
I knew
is
that.
like right where his entire family was a magical born, but he was born without magic, so he can't. He never got to go to Hogwarts.
So it's kind of like artificial magic in a way.
Yeah, I assume it's like a GED program type of thing.
Yeah.
Just like to learn. So like basically he would be
see.
learning like what first years are learning or some type of. That's what I kind of took it as.
Yeah, kind of a cool little thing that they were able to add into the extended cut. And then we get into the herbology scene after this, and then we're going to our first class, and I love the herbology scene. I think it's hilarious. And then we go to the Great Hall, where I think this is where Ron is greeted by his howler, and that's classic stuff. I mean, it's just really fun. But yeah, anyway, Adam, what do you think of all that?
Yeah, I love this part. I love the car getting stuck, and obviously Filch is just such a shining spot of every movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and the I was gonna say those, what were they called, mandrakes, those plants. Those are the ugliest things. They look like little like baby Grinch. They're like little baby Grinches. They're so ugly.
That's totally what they look like. Yes.
Oh yeah,
The little baby Grinches.
That's all I have to say about that. They're little baby Grinches. They're like little chubby.
Yeah, I know. They're like.
It's like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like this part of the movie. I was gonna say, but before that, I forgot to say, when I forgot that this was the movie where they missed the train. When I was watching it, I hadn't thought about it. And it was funny, like as they were running through the platform, I turned over to Megan and I was like, I could never do that. And she's like, what? Why? They just run right through the wall. And I'm like, because like you could clearly run into it. Like that happens at some point, and it happened right as I said that. I was like, see, that's exactly why I couldn't run full steam into a brick wall. Because his parents literally right before they ran through and they hit, his parents ran through and they didn't have a cart. And his mom ran through like this with her head first. If that wall went solid, her head would be all over the floor.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's all I've got to say. I never thought of that, actually.
She ran at an angle.
She does, yeah.
She does.
So unsafe. Like, I don't care if I know that it's transparent. Like, you're going to run through it. Like, you know it's possible. Like, you're really going to run forward head first. At least put your arms in front of you.
I want to see that movie now, where the alternate universe where Molly goes in head first and it's blocked off for her.
And why do you have to sprint?
Things.
Like, why do you have to sprint? Why is that
think
a
it,
rule?
it
That
just
seems
makes
so
them feel
unsafe.
better.
Like, you don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever ridden a water slide? Like, there's like a buffer period because you know that
Right.
someone might be at the bottom. Well, you don't know who's on the other side of the wall,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you maybe shouldn't run.
Right.
Oh man, Sammy, what do you think of all that?
I totally agree. Yeah, she totally like. I think it's mainly just like it makes them feel better if they like have a running start.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, what if that house elves can seal it off? So
Yeah.
like you never know. You don't know who's at the end of that. Oh, definitely. But uh on the note of the car, that's
Yeah.
the one thing I can say.
The car. That's what he says.
The car. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I love the action. This is really where like it starts to step things up a notch. And get more action packed, and the Whomping Willow is always so terrifying, and I love how the car like literally like spits out their luggage, like in the sound design it's like a pew, like it's literally spitting them out. I love
Yeah.
that. I love Filch again for reasons already said. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Then we so from the holler scene we move into
Also love the howler scene.
yeah, I was
Sorry.
gonna say, no, you're fine.
Always thought that was just absolutely hysterical. Always love that.
What happens after the holler? Do we go into Gilderoy Lockhart's first class, right? So then we go to Gilderoy Lockhart's first class, and then so we're in Dark Arts, and this is just a lot of fun. I think it just speaks so much to his character. In the extended cut, we also get another scene here where he gives out this test like a pop quiz in the beginning of the class, and all the questions are about Gilderoy Lockhart, like what's Gilderoy Lockhart's favorite something. Yeah. It cracks me up. It was a really nice scene that they probably should have kept in the original because it was really funny to watch.
Narcissist.
Yeah, he is. And
so good. Hardly any of you knew my favorite color is lilac.
And he's like a complete idiot too. Like if you're gonna be a narcissist, at least have
he's a
the
fraud.
personality to back it up.
He's a narcissist and a fraud for all the things he's narcissistic about. Yeah.
Right. And so they have that class, and then I think moves from the class to Quidditch, if I'm not mistaken. So it goes from that to not the Quidditch practice where the slugs happen.
Right.
So Ron his wand is well, when does Ron's wand breaks in the Whomping Willow, right? Isn't that when it broke?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, Ron's got his broken wand. And so that reverse backfires on him because Malfoy insults Hermione, and then he does the eat slug spell. He's puking up slugs like crazy. I think that this is really funny still to this day. And then they go to Hagrid's. Hagrid, they kind of tell him what happened. Hagrid tries to find the cure for that, and then Harry's in detention with the narcissist, I believe, right after that, if I'm not mistaken, and he's signing his fan. He's like, Harry.
Yeah.
Did you think of a better way to spend attention than helping me sign my fan mail?
I'm flies when you're having fun.
Yes. He's like, spooky how time flies. So we're having fun. And Harry goes, spooky.
That's right.
And then he goes out and he starts hearing the voices, and then we move into the blood on the wall and all that's happening. And so and then once we see that, obviously everybody thinks it might have been Harry, or that he's a suspect in the case, and then they kind of talk their ways out of it. I love when Snape like defends them right here, and then they all give each other a look like, what the hell? Or he tries to, but then he like spins it again. He's like, that again, I don't remember seeing Potter at dinner. And then Gilderoy kind of comes in and helps him out, and then they, innocent until proven guilty according to Dumbledore. And then they have the because Norris is Mrs. Norris the cat. I love that Filch's cat's name is Mrs. Norris.
I literally made a note of that because I forgot that was her name, and I was laughing when I was watching it. Who names their cat that?
Mrs. Norris.
There's a backstory there, right?
I'm sure there is. I don't know what it is.
I thought she was like a
so.
person at one point or something, and then for some reason she's a cat for the rest of her life. I thought there was a whole thing going on there, but I can't remember.
She was Chuck Norris's wife.
Exactly.
And then anyway, so the cat's been petrified, and anyway, that's what's going on there. Adam, what do you got?
Yeah. Lockhart's class, once again you see exactly how big of an idiot he is. Every time he's on screen, he just makes a fool of himself. That character is so weird. And the whole detention thing with him signing the fan mail, like that's the most narcissistic thing in the world. You're gonna make a student help you sign your fan mail. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't have too many things to say about this part.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I was just gonna say, like, when this is one of the cuts though that really bothers me, is like how we go from the class and then like we cut and then we're at the Quidditch pitch for practice, and that really bothers me, because it's like typically in like Sorcerer's Stone per se, like when we're going from thing to thing, the next scene typically like it's in direct reference to the scene prior, and then like there's no reference to it. It's just like we go from that to that and then to that. It's just,
it could be worse. There could be screen wipes.
True, but no, yeah, that's true. But
shots fired, George Lucas. Your move.
Your move, George.
Also, I forgot to say that every time I watch this movie, watching Ron puke up slugs, like literally, is so gross.
It is gross, but it does make me laugh too because of how gross it actually is in concept.
That it's a live
I love
slug.
Throughout this movie that he knows his wand is broken. And he knows that it's going to fire back, but he is so confident throughout this entire movie. Every time anything happens, I'll handle it. And it's like, really,
exactly.
Dude?
Yeah. I was always like, can he not just ask his mom to buy him a new one? And I'm like, oh no, I don't think this is a good time to be asking his mom to buy him new stuff right now.
Why doesn't Harry buy him one? Harry's got a bunch of money.
Exactly.
Like, come on, Harry.
My God.
Yeah, really.
Help a bro out.
Help a bro out. That's your bro, Harry.
I feel like at this point, what's good for Ron is good for Harry.
Exactly.
Yeah, and speaking of the confidence he has, because I believe we transitioned to like McGonagall's, classroom right here, and this is where he turns the cup into the rat, or like it's like half a rat. It's so like gross. A half rat, half cup thing.
Can you imagine drinking out of that?
Oh man.
Oh no, I can't.
Putting your lips on it.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
holding it like this with the tail between your fingers.
Especially if there was like a liquid in it too. No.
Yeah, that'd be gross. That would not be fun. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so this is where we get the exposition drop about the Chamber of Secrets. Hermione raises her hand, asks, and I want to point out that Maggie Smith does an incredible job with the scene, like explaining everything as McGonagall. Like I just think that she just really destroyed here, and I think it's worth noting for sure. And then I think we go from McGonagall's to the first Quidditch game, right? If I'm not mistaken, where the Bludger's coming after Harry. And then so we go from McGonagall's to that, and so the Bludger goes after Harry, hits him in the arm, and then obviously his arm's broken. I think it's funny when Gilderoy Lockhart tries to repair his arm, it's all flubby, and then I love when they go back to the hospital, and then Malfoy's just sitting there, and then the nurse is like, quit making such a fuss, you can go. So Harry's in the bed, and then obviously we get some more exposition here when the nighttime comes. Dobby kind of sneaks his way in, and then we find out the Bludger was because of Dobby. The platform 9 3/4 stuff was all because of Dobby, and Oliver Wood is a tool. Adam, what do you got?
He had to add that in.
Oh my God.
I think.
What did he ever do to you?
He's so stupid.
All he did was try to lead the Quidditch. All he tried to do was lead Gryffindor to a Quidditch World Cup. All right.
What's your beef,
That's
man?
all he tried to do.
Jeez.
After all he's done for Harry.
He's a dork. Look at him. Anyway,
I don't feel like he's given me any reasons to not like him. He's like such a neutral character.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's always getting his ass kicked in this movie. Like in these movies, he's on his broom.
So is Harry.
He's on his broom. He's
Harry.
Leading his team to the house. Cut my ass. So he's sitting there like just sitting there. Watch yourself, Harry. And then the Bludger comes and then like knocks him.
At least he warned him.
He did. Harry's broom
tried.
is faster than there's not much he can do. His broom's not as good as Harry's.
I think it's so unfortunate that every time Harry plays Quidditch, like something is rigged against him. Like he can't just
Right.
have a fair game. And this is just
Exactly.
yet another example of how Dobby is just asinine.
For sure.
Like he's really gonna make this thing. Like, how much does that thing weigh, do you think? I mean, that sucker is going through
bludger.
like thick
Yeah.
wood
Yeah.
beams.
Yeah.
I mean,
And fast.
that's like a cannonball.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's not trying to kill Harry. Yeah, not trying to kill Harry my butt. Like that thing could literally take a head
True.
off.
Right.
So yeah, I like that scene. And you know, you get to see Malfoy fly off his broom, which is a delight. I like that. And the whole rubber arm thing is just so gross. And you know, as soon as you see Lockhart coming, you're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Here we go. And everybody around him knows. Everybody's like, everybody's like, no, I got this. Like, no, bad move, dude. Anyway, yeah, I like that Quidditch scene.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Yeah, it's so awesome too. It's such an advanced thing from the first one because now we're like seeing Harry and Malfoy, the way that they get matched up together and they're flying through the stands. I was just like, this is like so much cooler than the one in the first one, in my opinion. So that's like they definitely stepped it up. But Sammy, what do you got on the breaking of the arms and all that?
I also totally agree. Not much on that. I do say to go back a little bit. I always have loved the scene with after Ron does eat slugs and they're in Hagrid's hut and they're like explaining to Harry what mudblood meant and everything. And I thought I've always loved the really beautiful moment with Hagrid and Hermione, where Hagrid's telling her don't think on it for 1 second, Hermione.
Oh yeah.
Don't think on it for 1 second. And he says there's not one wizard who's half blood or less today, and there's not a witch or wizard out there that can do a spell that our Hermione here can't. Like I just have always loved that. I love that moment between them.
Did I skip over
Make
you when
sense.
we went to that? I feel like I did.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Either way,
I don't
thank you for
remember
pointing
either.
that out because that is a really great
I just
scene.
remember
but, yeah,
that I
anyway.
didn't talk about that yet.
Yeah, it's okay.
It makes you like think about that word, like how that word can actually be a big deal to someone who actually gets caught. It's almost like hearing a racial slur. Like
Yeah.
It's the equivalent, yeah.
You're right. In this story, it's
Mhm.
almost the equivalent of hearing a racial slur.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't really remember how big of a deal that is in this story until you watch this scene. And I kind of forgot about that scene when I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's actually, she's like really upset about it.
Mhm.
Like it kind of, you feel bad for her, and it just once again makes Malfoy look like a complete tool.
Exactly. And it
'Cause he
adds to
is.
like, and you see that for the rest of the movie too, and the rest of the series too, you see like how that fuels Hermione to be like anti-Malfoy, to be like, she knows, because the best way to prove him wrong is to literally just be better than him. And if she's always better than him, then like what is he gonna say then?
She's
Calling her
better
a
than
mudblood is
everybody.
nothing. Exactly. She's better
He's
than
the best
everybody.
student at that school.
Exactly. And so you see like, yeah, you see the beginnings of Hermione being like, F you, Malfoy. I'm just going to be absolutely better than you and everybody. So if anybody wants to call me a mudblood, it's not going to matter because I'm going to know I'm better than absolutely everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So Sammy, I have to go urinate real quick if you could talk about.
Where are we at again?
We're going to start, I think, with
Pooping.
the Dueling Club is what we start with here.
Dueling Club,
yep.
right. So we have the Dueling Club set up by our lovely Gilderoy Lockhart, and right before this we have Harry talking to Justin Fletchley, who has Muggle-born parents himself, and he's talking to Harry, and he just lets him know that. And then we have Lockhart versus Snape in the Dueling Club, which I've always loved this scene. And they bring up Harry and Draco, because of course they do, and they tell them to only fight to disarm each other, and of course they start actually dueling up until the point where, I know, who saw that coming? Put Draco and Harry up there, who would have thunk? But then it eventually leads to, also, I'd be remiss if I don't miss, I've always loved the scared Potter. He goes, you wish.
You wish. I
It was always
remember
just
that.
like, oh,
I remember
Harry,
that in the
yeah.
previews, like when the movie was coming out. There are several lines in this movie that for some reason I don't specifically remember the commercials for any of the other movies, but this movie there's like 4 lines that are in the commercials, and that's one of them. And then another one I always remember is later in the movie when Ron's like, "Can we panic now?" Like I always remember the commercials.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Right, and then we get to Draco eventually bringing a snake into the equation, which is then revealed that Harry, which we, the audience, we have known that Harry can speak to snakes, and he starts speaking to it. The snake starts going after Justin Finch Fletchley, and as Harry's speaking to it, everybody starts thinking that Harry is like egging it on, trying to attack Justin, but we know it where Harry's just telling him to back off. And eventually he does, and then I believe it's Snape who just eventually like gets the snake out of there. And then we cut to Harry, Ron, and Hermione. So we got to Harry, Ron, and Hermione freaking out, basically. Ron and Hermione just freaking out that Harry's a parcel mouth. And that's when it's explained by Hermione that parcel tongue is a very rare thing in the wizarding world, and it's usually the mark of a dark wizard, because Salazar Slytherin, head of Slytherin House, notorious bad wizard, was also a parcel tongue and could speak to snakes.
Yeah.
And so, a wrap.
Yeah, so for sure, I really like this stuff. I think it's it all plays really, really well. The Dueling Club scene is actually kind of epic in a way. Watching Harry and Malfoy face off against each other for the first time in something is kind of epic. But then you get the parcel tongue stuff. A lot of crazy shit going down now. So now Harry's really gonna feel like the outsider. Excuse me, the outside. There was my burp. He's gonna feel like the outsider, and so yeah, it just really creates such like a tension-filled sort of dynamic between him and all the other characters in the film for sure. Adam, did you give your opinion on this already, or was I?
No, not really, but I really like the dueling scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and and like Snape, of course, sets that whole thing up. Like, how about one of my students? And it's like, Snape, go sit down. Like, go sit down by yourself. Like,
Malfoy,
stay out of it.
Perhaps.
Malfoy, perhaps. I just love when they're casting these spells. They're literally like barrel rolling through the air at incredible speeds.
I did like watching Snape give it to Lockhart though. Like I liked watching Snape like really give it to Lockhart. That was like entertaining as hell.
And Lockhart's like, as expected. Like I let it happen. Like, oh sure.
Yeah.
He's such an imbecile. I just can't.
And that reminded me.
I love him.
He really is. That just reminded me, they don't really touch on it that much in this one, but in the books, it's every time there's a new Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, that's Snape's like coveted job. That's his dream job, and every time there's a new person, every year when it happens, Snape is just like so angry about it and so bitter towards that person.
That's true.
I would be too.
Yeah, and you get hints of it here, but like in the book, it's really drove in that whoever the professor is, Snape is just like immediately hates them.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, it rightfully so. I mean, because let's be honest, Snape should be the Defense of the Dark Arts teacher.
Yeah.
It makes no sense why he's not.
He's cut out for that role for sure.
Yeah.
And so
it's there eventually.
He certainly stuck around the longest of all of them. Let's be real.
Yeah. The most dedication.
When he finally got it. So I think from here, and there's a really cool extended scene that I wish they wouldn't have cut out of the movie, where Harry, like, he flips out on Ron and Hermione because of the parcel tongue thing and all that, and they cut it from the movie, and I thought it was like really like some of the better acting Daniel Radcliffe did in the film, and for some reason, again, and they cut it out. They did that with one of the scenes in the first one where I felt like it was like the best acted moment from these kids, and they took it out of the cut for some reason. But whatever. So I think we go into like Christmas time right around here. We're kind of moving into Christmas, and I'm
They're
trying to
making
think.
Polyjuice Potion.
That's right. So yeah, they're
Right.
kind of coming up with a plan to do it, which we kind of skipped over, I think, where they were kind of talking
Oh,
about
right.
like their whole
Because
planning
Moaning
out, which was
Myrtle.
kind of Moaning Myrtle. We kind of skipped
Yeah.
over all that, unfortunately, but
But I love Moaning Myrtle.
I find her kind of annoying.
She's interesting.
She's very. I know. She's. Yeah.
I don't hate her, but she's like, I don't love her by any means. She's definitely an interesting character.
Yeah.
Very
I feel joy every time she shows up, so take that as you will.
Fair enough.
It's like, oh, Moaning Myrtle's here.
Fair enough.
That's love.
Yeah.
So now they're finally going to. So they kind of come up with this diversion for Crab and Goyle to where they get these cupcakes, and these cupcakes look delicious. Every time I see them, I think they look great. But
I agree.
Every time I see any type of food in a movie, it makes it so much better. Like this is a random tangent. Every time I watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he eats a green apple in that movie.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I want a green apple. So I started planning out when I know I'm going to watch Indiana Jones, I'll go out and get green apples because I know that I'm going to want them.
Nice.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's like me and chocolate with Willy Wonka. Like, I have to have chocolate around me when I start watching that, because it's like otherwise it's not the same experience. But so when I don't watch that movie much these days, but
In a while.
I'd be very obese if that was the case. But so we get into the so they create this diversion where they're going to float up the cupcakes to Crab and Goyle. I like Ron, like, so confident, and Harry's like, maybe I should do this. Take this one, bud. Just so they float the cupcakes up, they eat them, and then they obviously have a sleeping potion in there, so they pass out for a little while. Makes me laugh. They had to take their clothes off of them. That really makes me laugh. Like, thinking about that concept, like the fact that like they're naked in these.
They
closets.
had to strip Crab and Goyle themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So then they take their clothes and all that, and then Hermione.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, me either. It reminds me of the Santa Claus of Tim Allen. He's naked somewhere. Anyway, but so then they do the whole thing with the Polyjuice potion. Obviously, this thing's going to be disgusting. It looks gross, and just as suspected, they all have to vomit afterward, or they feel like they're going to go vomit, and then finally they transform. The thing with Hermione is hilarious. That the fact it was cat hairs, which we find out. You cooking something?
You heard that?
Yeah, but anyway,
Megan's making pizza.
Oh, nice.
He heard the beep go off. He goes, "Are you cooking something?" He like stops mid sentence.
I didn't hear it, but I
carry on.
Didn't hear it, but I can smell it. But the so we get the where were we? Polyjuice. So then they have to change their voices. I think it's funny that Ron has to change his voice and Harry doesn't for some reason. I never understood that, but okay. So then maybe he sounds just that much like Goyle. I guess I never really paid attention to how they talk, but so then they they run into Percy in the hallway, and then Malfoy runs into them. He takes them back, gives this whole speech about kind of what's going on with the Chamber of Secrets, and they find out that he's not the heir of the Chamber of Secrets. So basically, that whole thing was for nothing. But they move into let's see. They find out Hermione, had the cat hairs. There's another extended scene here too where Hermione's in the hospital, kind of getting cured, and they're talking to her about everything, and that was cut out of the original too for some reason. So excuse me. So that was pretty cool. Then I think right around here is where we start to, I think we learn
Where we get the diary.
The diary is here.
I think.
Oh yes, they
I think
find
it's
the
after
diary
that
because
they find it in the
him and Ron are
bathroom.
walking up the stairs laughing about Hermione's situation, which I think is funny. And
Right.
so then they're moving up the stairs, and then they find the diary, and then Moaning Myrtle kind of talks about how somebody just kind of threw it at her, and
Yeah.
that's right. So
And it's like, why is it a big deal? Like, you're a ghost, like it's gonna go through you. And she is so mad about it. Like, she's so upset.
Yeah, she doesn't like that she's a ghost. She literally got murdered, and she is haunting the school.
I'm just
Not
saying,
fan.
if I'm a ghost, like, I would be having some fun.
yeah,
Throw back.
right.
Like,
Screw you, Ginny.
if you make it known that it upsets you that people throw stuff at you, then they're gonna keep throwing stuff at
Right.
you.
Right.
So you have to haunt them.
So that's what they
Right.
do, actually. This is where the extended scene comes in. That's right. They take the diary to Hermione in the hospital, and they tell her about
That's
they
right.
found the diary. That's right. So then
That's right.
Harry decides to start writing in this diary. Not sure what gave him that instinct, but he just starts writing, to
Right.
the diary.
Well, because it's empty.
I guess.
It's someone's diary, but completely empty.
I guess.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting thing to immediately think of.
Yeah.
You open this diary and you're just like, I'm gonna write in it.
I'm writing it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, first
He's like, I've had a bad day. I'm gonna write
Yeah.
about it in this stranger's diary.
I do like the way the movie does it. It's like he starts to he's like, maybe I'll write it, and then like just a bit of ink drops onto it, and that's where when it like disappears onto the page.
That's right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I noticed that
cool.
this time.
That is cool.
Yeah, because I've also been like, why, like, was it the voices or something in Harry telling him to write in it or something? And I'm like, oh, it's like, it's a bit of ink drops.
Yeah.
And that's how it all.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's cool.
That's what provokes him to write.
So then
he
starts asking questions, and he's like, he wants to find out because the diary says Tom of Arlo Riddle on it, so he wants to find out. We also did mention, by the way, that Colin Creevey also got petrified, right, in the hospital. We forgot to mention that real quick, but just so everybody knows. So then he moves in. We find out that there's some stuff going on with Hagrid. And so we're kind of learning some backstory there, which I actually really dig. That Hagrid got kicked out of Hogwarts, and then Harry thinks that it's Hagrid that opened up the chamber. Tells Ron and Hermione, and then they're like, we have to talk to him, and then so I think before they even get around to that, actually, that Hermione gets petrified, right, at this point, and then.
Right.
She's in the hospital.
Yeah, he writes in the diary. They figure that out, and then Hermione gets petrified.
Right.
Because there's a big thing of the school might shut down, and all of that. Because then she gets petrified because she like figures it out a bit, and she has she finds the thing about the basilisk.
Right.
And writes pipes on it, and because she's petrified with like the piece of paper crumbled up in her hand.
Right. So then they find the paper. That's correct, and then it says pipes, and then. The school gets shut down. They're like, we really have to talk to Hagrid. They're like, time to pull out my dazzle cloak, which I like. A nice little connection from the first one. And then they go to Hagrid's hut in the cloak, and then they're talking to Hagrid, and then Hagrid, basically Lucius comes in. I love the part where he's like, believe me, I have no problems being in your. You call this a house? Hagrid's like, get out of my house. I did like that a lot, actually. Cornelius Fudge, this is our first introduction to him as well, is also in here. So Dumbledore, a lot of stuff happens here. Hagrid's getting, kicked off the grounds, and then Dumbledore is also he's got to step down as headmaster. So there's that.
Fudge
Hagrid's
is a butthead.
Yeah. There's also a first mention of Azkaban. That's where Hagrid's going, is Azkaban prison. So,
right.
It's a big deal. And then I love Hagrid. If anybody was looking for some stuff, all they'd have to do would be to follow the spiders.
Yeah, that's not a weird thing to say.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. And if anybody in this room might need something,
and then he's like, yep. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
And then he walks out.
Off to Azkaban.
Oh my gosh. And then I love Dumbledore's help will always be, you know, found at Hogwarts for anybody who asks for it. And then he looks over and he knows that they're there. I love that. Love that so much. It melts my heart.
Dumbledore just sorry to interrupt, but I was like, I just forget sometimes how big of a badass Dumbledore really is.
Yeah, he's
like,
super cool.
Because he knows everything going on. Like, we may not think that he knows, because Harry doesn't necessarily know that he knows everything that's going on. Yeah. We don't know that he knows that we know that he knows that we know, but we know.
Exactly.
But the fact that we know is cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, Adam. We kind of went over a whole lot there. What do you got on all that?
I wanted to say from forever ago, actually, when we're all the way back when we're in McGonagall's classroom.
Oh yeah.
Something that I always forget about. I don't know what's going on in that classroom, but it's literally my dream because there's a baboon, there is a cage of lemurs, there's a black palm cockatoo, which is my favorite bird in the world. So I don't know, but she's got a good gig. That's all I have to say about that. She's got a good gig.
Yeah. She's the transfiguration professor. So changing stuff into other stuff.
I'd be transfiguring myself into a lot of different things.
Into that classroom.
For sure.
Yeah, I like the whole Crab and Goyle bit. I just think like it just shows how big of idiots they really are. Like they're literally walking through the halls. They have arms full of junk food. And they think, nah, we're going to eat these mysterious floating cupcakes.
Floating.
We're going to ignore all of the food that we have in our arms already.
That's true.
And we're just going to eat these weird things floating in the middle of the air. That is not suspicious whatsoever.
I like how they look at each other too, just like assuring each other that this was a good idea.
Yeah.
It's funny because Dom, you said they look so good, and Megan just now said they don't even look that good.
Oh, really?
Two completely different opinions. I thought they looked fairly neutral. Yeah, I like that scene. I don't know why Hermione's hiding. She is a human cat. That's awesome. I would be running around like having a good time. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we meet Fudge. Fudge is a douchebag. Don't like anything about Fudge in any of these movies.
No, me either.
Same.
Yeah.
A corrupt politician.
Pretty much. This is where we really start getting our politics for the first time in the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot the scene with the journal and everything. Oh man, that is such a good scene. Like that's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite scene of this movie when he starts writing in the diary.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that scene because I remember watching it for the first time thinking, this is so exciting. Like this is cool. Like what's happening? Like this thing is writing back, like, and then it like takes him and shows him this memory. It's just like so exciting and mysterious and dark. And so, yeah, I really like that scene. So anyway, and by the way, it's really funny. Megan is sitting here watching The Bachelor right now.
Oh, right on.
Well, Dom watches The Bachelor. Yes. Both of them watch The Bachelor, actually.
Stereo Wednesday night, Bachelor spoiler talk.
Can you ask her who her top two are? Just ask. I just need two names.
Sammy wants to know who your top two are.
I don't remember their names.
Oh, she doesn't remember their names. It's not Queen Victoria, though.
No.
The white girl and...
The white girl.
Rachel.
Right? Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
The muscular girl.
Bree?
The white girl and the ripped girl.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
I think it's Bree and Rachel, right?
I think Bree and Rachel, yeah.
Tom says it's Bree and Rachel.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I love it.
Anyway.
Anyway, thank you for
back to Harry Potter.
Anyway, where are we at? Tom Riddle's diary.
It's your turn.
You could touch on some of the stuff we talked about, and then we'll get to the follow the spider stuff, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's also one of my absolute favorite scenes in the movie as well. Is going into Tom Riddle's diary like that, because especially when like the first time watching it and when you have no idea what's going on, it's just so exciting. You're like, this book is writing back to him, like, and you just completely are just completely enthralled with it. And yeah, and I love it's the first time we really get Harry going into a flashback of somebody else. The
Yeah.
first time he gets to go into the mind somewhat of Tom Riddle. And yeah, and the way it's filmed, I think is absolutely incredible. How Harry is like still in color and everything else is in black and white. Yeah,
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah.
Sorry, it just hit me. Because people are gonna be watching this, that the fact that you were like, Megan, Dom watches The Bachelor, and you just hear yes. Sorry, that just hit me. Popped in my head for some reason, but because oh man. All right, so moving on. So we're at the spider part. Did you have anything else, Sammy? I'm sorry.
No,
you're
good.
All right, so we're at the spider part. They're actually going to follow the spiders. They're going to follow that advice, because why wouldn't you at that point?
By the way, that's something that you never do in real life.
True. In real life, in the real world,
Exactly.
do not
Under
follow
any
the spider.
circumstance.
They probably shouldn't
Even
have done
if
it
someone
here.
tells you to, they're lying. No.
They probably shouldn't have done
Well,
it
if somebody
here. They
tells
almost
you
died.
to, they're probably trying to kill you.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. So
Or
go,
if they're not trying to, the big spider at the end of the lane will.
100%.
Yeah.
So we're back in the forest too, which one of the things I love, this is a side note kind of thing, but like in the video game, like when you're walking around Hogwarts, like the closer and closer you get to the scene, the more and more spiders you see walking around Hogwarts with you, like around you and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy, but it's pretty cool. And then like by the time you're at this part, it's like they're like crowded, you know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. But anyway, so back into the forest, which I think is a nice touch. And then they go out into the forest to meet Aragog, and Aragog, he helps him out, but then he wants to kill him, which I always find to be kind of off-putting. But he tells them everything they need to know. Then he wants to kill him, and then so then I love the goodbye, friends of Hagrid. So then they're trying to get away from these spiders. Luckily, the car shows up. A little bit of a convenience, but, whatever. So then they're... I love the look of the spell, too, that Harry casts. The white coming out of the wand, and then, like, the spider just... kind of... it just looks really cool when Ron's getting attacked there in that moment. And
Sounds cool, too.
Sounds cool, that's for sure, yeah. Then they're driving away in the car, or the car's driving them away, more or less, and then they get away, and then once they're out of the car, I like that the car just takes off again. So they're then
presumably
they find out,
never to be seen again.
pretty much. And he's like, Hagrid never opened the Chamber of Secrets. That's what they found out. And then you know what? This is actually where they find the pipes thing. Is right here. It's after
this
all
is
this.
Right.
Because
this is when they
finds
find her.
it,
Right.
and then he has his epiphany.
Right.
So he goes to see Hermione in the hospital, has his epiphany with the pipes, and then he's like, and he explains it all. Which, by the way, the explanation for all this, like, if you'd never read the book before, this stuff is pretty unpredictable. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, it's very you wouldn't have thought of this. You know what I mean? It's got a really cool explanation to everything. I feel like, and it's not like something that you would have just figured out. You know what I mean? So it's really cool how it all kind of pieces together. And then they're like, we're gonna go open up the Chamber of Secrets. So they go find they see that there's been another writing on the wall, and it's her body will lie in the chamber forever, because now they figured out it's been Ginny this whole time doing this stuff. So then it's like, oh boy. So then they go to find Lockhart, of all people, because they think he knows a whole lot, and it turns out he doesn't. And then they go to the they kind of they find out he's trying to leave and flee the scene, and then they pretty much lead him to the chamber, or the sink. So we'll stop at the sink. And Adam, what do you got?
I like this part of the movie. I like the the spiders leading to the forest and the gigantic spider, which obviously I am very terrified of spiders, so I don't like it, but I like it at the same time. So I like that bit. And yeah, I forgot to mention when all these kids are getting petrified, it's like I love that, like how mysterious it's been the whole movie. Like you don't really know what's happening the whole movie, and it's like, are they dead? Are they dying? Like, what is happening? There is like blood on the walls in mysterious writing. Like it feels very dark, especially for something that seems like it should be a kids movie.
I agree. Yeah.
Feels very dark. It doesn't feel like a kids movie.
No.
Which is something that I stand by, that this series has always done really well, is that, you know, it's a series that you feel could be watched by kids and even might feel directed at kids at the beginning, at least, but 100% like easy for adults of every age to get into. And honestly, as the series evolves, it almost feels like it's not for kids. It feels like it is for adults, like 100%.
Well, yeah, it ages with you, you know, I think.
Really,
yeah.
from this movie on, like really the first movie is the only movie to me that feels like it's kind of more
Kiddish.
a movie for kids. But this movie, I mean, it is the subject matter and what's going on and the writing on the walls and people getting petrified. It doesn't necessarily feel like a movie that you would be like, hey, I'm gonna let my 6-year-old watch this. Like,
Right.
it doesn't feel like it. But anyway, yeah, I really like the whole petrification thing and all of that. And yeah, leading up to the sink and figuring out where the chamber is and all that. It's I really find most of this movie to be really exciting because it's really informative, because you're learning so much.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my take.
Samee?
Yeah, definitely. I just, this is one of the things I love about Harry Potter in general, but also especially in this one, that they are very much like mystery stories, that while they are telling like a large story overall, each of them are encapsulated in their own little mystery. Like this one is, you know, what is the Chamber of Secrets? It's petrifying people. What's going on? We have to fix that. But it's tied into the larger narrative of, you know, Harry versus Voldemort. And yeah, and I love the little mystery parts of it and how you don't really know how it's gonna go down. And then when it is revealed, it's, again, it feels like the end of like a mystery novel, when like you finally figure out what happened and you start thinking and it clicks together and you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But especially, I mean, getting a little ahead of ourselves, the ending, especially of this movie, I'm like, that is not like, even as a kid, I was like, that is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like the like getting ahead of ourselves, but the basilisk is horrifying, even to this day.
Yeah, and
like that is a horror movie creature. Yeah,
that's a good segue because we're about to get into that here. So, you know, we really so we find out that if Harry speaks Parseltongue to the sink, it goes down. I know it sounds funny out loud when you say
there
it.
I was talking to the sink, and the sink leads to this cave. Would you believe it?
On paper,
Can you
it sounds
imagine
so
going home and telling your parents, well, there I was sitting in the bathroom. I was speaking snake to the sink. The sink opens up. There's this guy down there. He's not actually alive, but he's definitely alive. And then there's this snake, and there was a phoenix and a sword and a talking hat, and there was just all this stuff.
So the stuff.
So that was my second year of school. I don't know why he's Italian. He's like from Brooklyn.
Oh,
they need to green like the Brooklyn Harry Potter.
He who must not be named.
Have you ever seen Giuseppe Stromboli? There's a Twitter account called Giuseppe Stromboli that's like the Italian Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I can find, it's a great Twitter account, but it's Giuseppe Stromboli, second year at school.
Oh man, so
can you imagine Dobby as an Italian? Harry Potter must not go back to school. He'll be in grave danger.
Oh, oh,
Shoot.
Oh my god.
oh, brother. All right.
Hey, I'm Tom Riddle.
Hey, I'm Tommy Riddle.
Hey, hey. When they get down in the cave, everybody goes, hey.
Hey. The basilisk. Hey.
Oh,
The
man.
basilisk grows a hand just so you can go, hey.
You blinded me. Hey.
Get your bird out of here.
These fucking birds.
They run into the platform. I'm walking the.
Hey,
I'm
walking
walking
here.
Oh man, I really like where this is going. I'm
Me too.
starting to feel like there should be a version
Brooklyn,
for sure.
We should write it.
Oh,
We should
my-
totally make this happen.
Totally.
You like Be
Oh.
Kind Rewind, like get Jack Black and make a sweeted version.
Yeah.
Jack Black as Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Jack Black plays all the characters.
He'll be playing all
He's
of the
literally all of them, but he's Italian.
Can you see Jack Black as Dumbledore? What the fuck is going on here? Just.
parts. Harry, what did you know?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, so we go
Yeah.
down the.
Anyways.
They're going down this down to this cave or the chamber, so to speak. It is a chamber. So they land on these bones, and the more I keep talking about this, the more ridiculous it sounds.
Because now you're thinking about
now I'm
it
thinking
as
about
like
Brooklyn
an
Harry,
Italian
yeah.
mobster story.
The monster story.
So,
Harry Potter and the mobsters.
Yeah.
So the snake's got a Tommy gun. Hey, down in front. I'm walking.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
podcasting here.
So,
The cat's like, I'm walking here.
so I love this is one of the standout things is when Gilderoy Lockhart has the wand. He grabs Ron's wand and he erases his
Exactly.
own memories, and I love it when he gets up and he's just like, hello. The way he says it, it's so funny.
Yeah. And I always love that he's good at one spell. He's good
Yeah.
at one spell. And
The
that's
memory
literally
charms.
it. The memory charms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it backfires on him, and
Yeah.
then he's just like, he's like, who are you? And then he's like, Ron Weasley. He's like, oh, okay, and
Oh,
who
yeah.
am I? Ron just completely ignores him and whacks him on that.
Yeah.
He's like, this is an odd sort of place. You live here. I thought that was so great. Ron just knocks his ass out. Oh man. And then so we get into the chamber. Harry goes the other way because obviously they got separated by the rocks. So Harry goes over to the chamber, and then he speaks partial tongue to that, to the door. He's talking to doors now. He,
Oh, he's talking to doors now.
then oh man.
Yeah, you go to the theater. You go to the theater and watch Harry Potter and go back to explain to your Italian family what you watched at the theater. He learned how to talk snake so he could talk to a sink. Then the next thing I know, he was talking snake to the doors. Yeah, the band was there, the whole band. It would be more like he's talking snake to the doors, and the mom would be like, "The doors like the band? No shit."
The doors are in the movie.
Oh man.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
You realize like the rest of these movies are all gonna turn Italian like
God damn
real
it.
quick every time we do these reviews.
Yeah.
Got this fucking uncle out here.
Oh man.
Okay, so he goes into the chamber, and I love the design of the chamber, by the way. Like, the Chamber of Secrets is dope. Like, that design is awesome. And he's running down the chamber was dope, Ma. It was dope.
It was dope.
Help, Ma.
I know the rest of the movie sounds weird, but that chamber is dope, ma.
Oh,
And the
sucks.
snake had a gold chain and chest hair.
I can't get through this anymore. Oh man, he's red.
Oh boy. And it wasn't. And the Phoenix came and he was carrying a fedora with a sword in it.
Oh.
Oh.
You could be like my uncle and call it fedoras.
Oh, fedoras.
Yeah, he always calls it fedoras. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah, your
Fedoras.
family's Italian, aren't they?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Oh boy. So anyway, should I take this seriously? We'll see. We'll see what happens. So he gets to the end of the chamber, and then yeah, like you were saying, the fedora and the sword, and then I mean, there's a whole Tom Riddle thing we're obviously skimming over here, but so the Tom Riddle thing is really cool. Just the fact that J.K. Rowling even thought of this, the I am Tom Marvolo Riddle. If you like mix up those letters, like it turns into or it's Tom Marvolo Riddle. You mix up those letters, turns into I am Lord Voldemort. Super clever, like incredibly clever when you think about it, and it's yeah. So yeah, just another twist you probably wouldn't be expecting had you not read the book. Obviously, I knew going in, but yeah. So he's pulling out the. I thought it was another Italian thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to steer this away. Damn it, Adam! But he goes into the.
Just say it. Just say it.
Just
Just
get
say
it off of your
Just get it
chest.
out.
I can't. Oh man. Okay, so like then the fox comes with the sword, which is super cool. And then Harry grabs the sword, and then he's Damn it, Adam! This is your fault. You did this to me.
Hey, my bad.
He was just walking here. It's not his
Yeah.
problem.
Oh man. So then he climbs up the thing, the
The face. He's climbing up this face.
That's climbing up this
His
face.
face.
Pretty sure it's Santa Claus.
Oh my
Kid's climbing up Santa Claus's face with this
God,
sword.
climbing up fucking Kris Kringle here.
He was climbing. So there's this 12-year-old kid. He's climbing up Santa Claus's face with a samurai sword. And there's this giant snake with a gold chain.
The chest hair.
I'm so sorry, everybody, to the listeners out there. I can't do it. Okay, so then the snake pops up, and then obviously we get this really epic scene, and then he climbs up the face, and then he stabs the snake, and then the one fang gets stuck in the arm. This stuff's really cool, by the way. Like when he's talking to Ginny, and then like it actually makes me emotional when Fox comes over and like starts crying, and like the tears come down on Harry's arm and heals him. But yeah, this is like a near-death experience for Harry. You know what I mean? So, you know where I'm going.
It's a near-death experience, and Dom laughs.
He almost died.
He almost died. It was hilarious,
12-year-old
Mom.
almost died. It was hilarious.
Well, I don't know. So, yeah. So anyway, so it was near-death experience for Harry. So this scene it definitely really got me. Again, and then obviously we're out of this now, and then we move into the pretty much the final parts, which is Dumbledore and Harry having the conversation, which is super cool. And like you were saying earlier, Sammy, Dumbledore being a badass, like it's so evident here, like especially the way that he like confronts Lucius when Lucius comes in. It's like, yeah, you get him, Dumbledore. You know, he's so like cold to him in a way, you know, but on the same hand, he doesn't change.
Dumbledore ain't stupid. Like he knows like everything that's going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got it all figured out for sure.
He has manipulated some of these situations like himself.
Yeah.
The way they are.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's very true. And yeah.
Sorry. I wasn't gonna ignore the pizza.
God. Speaking of Italians.
Hey,
Pizza!
Oh man. Oh, you got pepperonis on that?
yeah, pepperoni.
Hey.
Oh man.
Hey, Ma, what's the Stromboli?
It's the meatballs. I
Hmm.
thought I asked for the meatballs, Ma.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we got way off track on that. I'm so sorry, folks, but luckily we're closer to the end. So then, yeah. Oh, by the way, when Lockhart, we missed this when they're flying out on Fox, and Lockhart goes, "This is just like magic." That's a great line. So anyway, so Dumbledore and Lucius, then you find out that like the sword says Godric Gryffindor. I love the meaning behind like why Harry got into Gryffindor in the first place. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire movie, like even more than the chamber. Like it's like this conversation with Dumbledore and everything going on here is so great. And then Harry's plan to get Dobby out and Dobby freed, really, really awesome. And we end the movie at the Great Hall where on the count of everything that's went on, all exams got canceled. Guess everybody just passes the school year. Like, forget final exams. You're
Hermione is
passing
so sad.
in terms of the trauma, due to the trauma, you're passing this year. And, yes.
And everybody is cheering except for Hermione, who was upset.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny.
She's like, oh no.
Yeah. And then the scene that chokes me up, I think, a little bit every single time is Hagrid walking in. And, yeah, like, it's just so emotional to see the way that people react to Hagrid, and this is kind of where the movie closes. So, Adam, I'll start with you. What do you got?
Yeah, so end of the movie in the chamber. Obviously the chamber scene is very exciting. But like I said, this was the part of the movie that when I watch it is like, I don't know. It's like weird because there are just like so many like convenient classic movie things that happen that just make it feel like so easy. And it's like Tom is like literally explaining the entire story and the entire plot line to Harry like a classic movie villain would. And then, you know, the bird comes and pokes the eyes out of the snake and then drops the hat, and then a sword comes out of the hat, and then the bird comes back and cries on his wound, and then he's healed, and then the bird carries 4 people out of the cave. And it's just like one thing after another that just keeps happening as I'm watching. I'm like, it's cool. I like this scene. It's cool, but it's like, this is so convenient.
Yeah.
like Harry definitely didn't have the ability to do that on his own whatsoever. Like, the bird saved the day. If the bird didn't exist, everybody's dead.
True.
So
good point.
Anyway, that's it. Just feels, I don't remember how the book feels in that regard, but at least in movie form, it almost, I don't know, it just felt like one of those classic feel good movies where it's like, well, we've dug ourselves into this hole and now we need the good guys to win, so we're gonna give them a whole bunch of good fortune. Like, so anyway, yeah. And then yeah, all the stuff behind Harry getting into Gryffindor is all really cool. And obviously Dumbledore's not stupid. He knows everything. Like, he knows exactly what's going on. He pretends that he doesn't, and he like watches from afar, but he's like so wise. And then you got that, the scene with Dobby when he opens up the book with the sock. That I actually really like that scene. I think that's great. Finally frees Dobby.
Yeah.
And then the closing scene with the whole banquet and everything. You get your cheesy ending. You know me and like how I am with Star Wars, and the celebration at the end of the Star Wars I think is cheesy, and I actually don't like that. So I don't like cheesy banquet hall scenes. I just think they're too over the top cheesy.
Interesting. I don't know. I think the scene chokes me up every time.
It just keeps going because everybody's clapping and everybody's happy, and then it's like Hagrid comes in, and then it's like really quiet, and then everybody's like laughing and like clapping and crying, and it's like it just keeps going on, and it's like, okay, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, but it's for Hagrid though. If it was for every other character, any other character, I might agree with you, but it's like they're doing this. I get
Hagrid. It just feels like it feels like a cheesy ending to a movie, like any other cheesy ending does, where everybody's laughing and smiling and crying happy tears for an unrealistic amount of time, and it just keeps dragging on, and you're like, okay, it's a happy ending, like roll credits.
I guess. All right, Sammy, what
But
do you got?
I'm weird about those cheesy endings. I just think they're really corny, so that's just me.
Fair enough. What you got, Sammy?
I absolutely love the ending. I think really just thinking about it now, I'm trying to think of the defense of how everything is so easy at the end, but you can really, I think, draw it back to
The scene in Dumbledore's office, which I think we might have missed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
That's what
where
I
he
was thinking
explaining
too.
like how the Phoenix works and everything.
Yeah,
And
me too.
but also tying back to how like spoiler alert for the whole series, but how Dumbledore does know all these things, and he knows that eventually Harry needs to be alive to fight Voldemort, and he needs to make sure that Harry is alive and comfortable and at least okay enough. Like he needs to make sure that Harry cannot die in the situation. And I think that's why we get Fox going in there, because like Dumbledore on the outside knows like this can't be how Harry dies. Like he is Dumbledore and needs to do everything that he possibly can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the boring version, but
yeah. By the way, the theme for Fox the Phoenix, though, from John Williams, I love that theme.
Really
that he
good.
Puts in there.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Well, John Williams just knocks everything out.
True.
Of the park.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's just a fact.
True.
Mm-hmm. Facts, absolutely. And I love the stuff with Dobby, and I love how Lucius gets a taste of his own medicine. And I also another moment that just we were talking about how when Draco and Malfoy are dueling, and where Draco goes like, "Are you scared, Potter?" And then Harry goes, "You wish," and you're just like, "Oh yeah, Harry, like, get him." Another great one when he's talking to Lucius, and he's like, I forget what he says exactly, but he's like,
don't worry,
like, well,
I will be. Let's hope Mr. Potter's going to be. I love that moment too.
Yeah. Like, let's hope Mr. Potter will always be here to save the day. And he goes, "Don't worry, I will be."
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, Harry, you tell him. Oh, such a fist in the air moment that I always love that scene so much. And then again, I love the Justice for Hagrid things. I just, it feels so satisfying that I love that moment.
Yeah. For sure. Well, yeah, that's the ending. Holy crap, we did it. I think that was shorter than the Sorcerer's Stone by a little bit. Somehow we managed to do that. So, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining.
Despite the Italian-Swedish version.
The Italian-Swedish version.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, it might be right around the same length.
We're working on it.
Hey, Hagrid, you're out of prison.
Hey,
come on. Hagrid's out.
Hey.
Uncle Haggy got out of the penitentiary.
Haggy's out of the pen.
Hey. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. This has been another episode of Dom's Corner, and this has been a review of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. If you guys want extra content, follow Sammy and I on Stereo for sure, at Dom Martino on Stereo and at Samee Ramirez on Stereo. You can find us there for some extra stuff that if you guys are interested. And it's been a lot of fun to talk to you guys and join in on the conversation. Or for you guys to join in on the conversation with us. So that's one of our favorite ways to do podcasts these days for sure. So make sure you go follow us there. And Sammy, where else can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Samee Ramirez 14, and then on Twitter and Stereo at Samee Ramirez.
Yeah, for sure. And then Adam, I want to thank you for being here as well. And where can people find you?
Same as always, at The Red Eclectic. On everything. TikTok's where I'm doing the most right now, so follow me there. Follow me Instagram, YouTube. I'm gonna start cooking up some videos soon. So
100%.
Lego.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Dom_Martino_ and on Instagram Dom_Martino_ official. So make sure you follow me there. And then all the what?
Underscore.
I know, I got a lot. So yeah, you guys can follow me there. I'll be leaving all that in the description below. And yeah, guys, if you haven't done so already, once again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, and share this with your friends. And keep up with the conversations. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey.